Hey everyone, Chantal here from the programming department at the library. So today I figured I would share with you a school-safe recipe that I like to make for a snack for my daughter when she goes to school, and I actually also really enjoy them too. The first thing is it's a bar, so it's a granola bar. So it has toasted quinoa, dried figs, dark chocolate, nut-free granola bar. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with roasting the oats and the sunflower seeds. So I'm just gonna list through the ingredients that you're gonna need, that way you can prepare yourself. So the ingredients are half a cup of old-fashioned rolled oats, and make sure it's rolled oats, not quick oats. Half a cup of uncooked quinoa, quarter cup of raw sunflower seeds, a quarter cup of raw pumpkin seeds, half a cup of organic or homemade sunflower butter, third cup of honey, a teaspoon of vanilla, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, a quarter teaspoon of sea salt, a quarter cup of flaxseed meal, a tablespoon of chia seeds, and half a cup of black mission dried figs. Make sure they're coarsely chopped, and a tablespoon of dark chocolate chips. So one thing that I really like about this recipe is that it's freezer safe, so you can make it in big batches. So if you're busy like me and you don't always have time to bake, you can take the time on the weekend or whenever you have time to bake a big batch and put it in the freezer for a month or so. Okay, so we're gonna start with the oats. Just give me 1 second, I just gotta grab this. Okay, so we're going to do half a cup of oats, and then we're going to put them into a pan. So make sure you have a pan. I already put the stuff in there, but make sure you line it with oil. So pour half a cup of rolled oats, and then half a cup of uncooked quinoa. So I buy the big bag from Costco. And then quarter cup of raw sunflower seeds, so make sure they're raw. And then a quarter cup of sunflower seeds. So half a cup of rolled oats, half a cup of uncooked quinoa, quarter cup of sunflower seeds, and a quarter cup of raw pumpkin seeds. So my oven is preheated, so preheat to 325. So once your oven is preheated, we're going to put the oats in there. And we're gonna cook them for about 8 to 10 minutes, and we'll see how they're doing. So I'll put my timer on for 8 minutes. Again, every oven is different too, so make sure you keep an eye on it as you're baking. So now that those are in the oven, we are going to move on to the next step, which is warming up the wet ingredients. So we're going to add the sunflower butter. So for the sunflower butter, we have half a cup of sunflower butter. I prefer using, just gonna move my camera here so you can see. I prefer using this one here. There are different kinds that you can use, I just prefer this one. So we're gonna add that to a pan. So don't turn the element on yet, just because you don't want to start cooking it before you're ready. So I'm going to put that into my pot. So half a cup of sunflower butter. And then a third of a cup of honey. I buy this one from Costco, but use any honey that you like. And then you'll add a splash of vanilla. use this one here, but again, use any vanilla that you like. Now we're going to move on to the cinnamon. So half a teaspoon of cinnamon. And a little sea salt. So now we're going to turn the element on. I turn it on to medium to start, but again, every oven is different, so it depends on your stove. So we're just going to stir that until it's well blended and warm. So let it heat up for a couple minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to stir this for a bit, and I'm going to come back when it's done. Okay, so I've been stirring the mixture for just a couple of minutes just to kind of get it warmed up. It doesn't have to be boiling or anything like that. You don't want it to cook, so just make sure you leave it on warm. I turn it on medium first just to get it hot quicker, and then I turn it down to low, and then I stir it. So we're just going to take that off the element for now. You want to let it cool before you put it in the bowl. So next I'm going to grab my bowl. So I have a medium size bowl here. I'm going to add the dried fruits. So it does ask for dried figs, which I did add, but I also like adding other dried fruits. So I actually added these here. So I mix the figs and these dried fruits together. Just adds a little something different to the bar. So we'll put those in there, and then I'm just gonna check on my oats to see how they're doing. I forgot to mention that the recipe does not say when to add the flax meal. So add the 1/4 cup of flax meal with the dried fruits. You can give them a bit of a stir just so so that the one side's not burnt. So I did cook for 8 minutes, but I am gonna add another 2 minutes just because they're not quite roasted yet. They don't need to be fully roasted where they're browning, but you just want to add a bit of a crisp to them. So once your mixture has cooled for a couple of minutes, we're going to pour it into our bowl with our dried fruits. So the dried fruits, so it's half a cup of dried fruits. This recipe specifically calls for half a cup of dried figs. If you do want to see the recipe itself, it is from ambitiouskitchen.com. She has some really great recipes. So you're just going to fold in the sunflower mixture into the bowl. I'm just going to turn the camera here a little bit so you can see. Sorry for the lighting, the sun is right in my face today. Okay, so you're just gonna fold that in, mix it with the fruits, and once the oat mixture that's roasting right now in the oven is ready, you're gonna fold it into the bowl as well. Starting to look a little roasted, so I'm going to take them out, turn the oven off. So what we're going to do, I'm just gonna let the oats kind of get out of the pan to kind of cool them a bit. Just be careful when you take the foil off because it is a little tricky and you don't want to spill your stuff everywhere. So they're not too hot, so I'm just gonna pour them into the bowl. Pour it into the mixture. So now you're gonna stir everything together. It's gonna start getting a little thick. Fold it in until it creates somewhat of a wet mixture. I'll show you what it looks like in a second here once I fold it together. So what you're gonna do now is you're going to, as you can see, it's kind of like a cookie dough mixture. So once it's all blended well together, you're going to put it in a pan lined with parchment paper. So I just have a little square baking pan here. I lined it. So now we're going to pour the mixture in. So once you flatten, make sure you flatten it out evenly because then your bars aren't going to be the same size if you don't put it evenly. And then for the last part, what you're gonna do once it's all evenly spread, you're going to put it into the freezer. So this part here, you can just leave them like this and put them in the freezer if you don't want too much sugar. Because there's honey in there. If you want, you can add the chocolate chips, which I do sometimes and sometimes I don't, but today I will. So if you don't want to add the chocolate, spread it in the pan and then put it in the freezer. And if you do want chocolate, which of course, who doesn't want chocolate, we'll melt the chocolate and then we'll put that on top. So just keep pressing it down until it's all even in the pan. Okay, so once it's all even, it's gonna look like this. And now we're gonna do the chocolate part. So for the chocolate, you can put it just in the pot and warm it up that way. I find it often burns if I do that, so I usually grab another metal bowl. If you have one, I suggest using the metal bowl, putting it on top. So put water in the pot. So fill your pot with water. And then what you're gonna do is put the metal bowl over top, and that's what you're gonna put your chocolate in. So the water's gonna boil, it's gonna bring the heat up, and it won't have direct heat on the chocolate to burn it. So, just gonna pause this for a second and get myself set up. Sorry about that, I just had to get myself set up. Okay, so I have the water boiling just a little bit right now, so I'm gonna turn down the heat. There's actually two ways that I add the chocolate to these bars. I either usually melt it and drizzle it over, or if I have smaller chocolate chips, like these ones are pretty big, but if I have the smaller chocolate chips, I actually don't melt them and I just press them into the mixture. So you have two options. So today I'm gonna melt them. So like I said, I definitely add more than a tablespoon, but the recipe asks for a tablespoon. So I'm just gonna add this to the metal bowl. And then I'm gonna let that melt. So I'm gonna stir it a little bit. It doesn't usually take long to melt. It's already melting at the bottom here. So we'll just stir it until it's all smooth and melted. And just make sure you keep stirring because you don't want it to burn. And you want it to melt the chocolate evenly. It might get a little hot depending on your pot holding the metal bowl, so if you need to use an oven mitt, you might want to grab one. Just about melted, just a few little chunks that need to be smoothed out. So once that's all melted, we're just gonna drizzle it on top of the bars. Okay, so it's nice smooth consistency now, so I'll just show you it's all melted. So we're gonna just drizzle it onto the bars. So I usually just take my spatula and just drizzle it over top. And I'm just gonna turn off the pot and just keep drizzling it on. Sorry for my dog barking in the background. He hears somebody outside. All right. So we'll just drizzle this, whatever's left on here. I don't really go to the extent of making it pretty, but so this is what it looks like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the freezer for at least half an hour. And then once you're done, you can cut them with however way you like. I usually cut them in bars, but you can cut them in squares, whatever you do. So we're just gonna put those in the freezer. So you'll wanna let it sit for at least half an hour. So hopefully you guys enjoy this recipe. I know my family really enjoys it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. And like I said, if you want the recipe itself, it's from ambitiouskitchen.com. And the bars are called Toasted Quinoa, Dried Fig, and Dark Chocolate Nut-Free Granola Bars. So hopefully you like them, and thanks for joining me.